I'm local chickadeeologist Richard Cissel, a very real name with a very real job, and this is April 7th Migration Minute. Let's go to last night's map and see what happened in the Intermountain West. You can kind of see down through the desert southwest, not a lot of movement in that central area, the Four Corners region. In the entire eastern part of the U.S., not a lot of movement last night. It was a pretty quiet overall. You can see this was kind of our peak number of birds in flight. That was 55 million, so not a lot of movement overall last night, although 55 million might sound like a lot of birds to some of you. If you see some of these maps later on in spring migration, you're going to see much, much bigger numbers. So what's going to happen tonight? Let's move on to our next map. Here you can see, this is the prediction for tonight. Not a lot of movement. A little bit of movement down here in the desert southwest, up the Pacific coast. A little bit of movement out in the eastern Great Plains, down up into the Midwest. Otherwise, pretty quiet night overall. So why is that happening? What's going on right now that's making migration look like this? Let's go to a migration map in real time. So as we pull this up, what you're going to see, this is courtesy of the Purdue Aero Eco Lab. There is live migration happening right now, all the way from Texas up into the northern Great Plains. Why is it happening there right now while it's still daylight? As I'm recording this here in the Rockies, it is still very much daylight. Let's go to our wind map to get a better idea of what's going on. You can see our winds right now from Texas all the way up into the northern Great Plains. Well, it's a beautiful tailwind for these birds to ride it on up to wherever they're heading for the day. So, a lot of birds taking advantage of those tailwinds, moving quickly. But for the rest of the birds, what's happening? Okay, so we know we've got great tailwinds here. That's why there's a little bit of migration happening there right now, and then hopefully more moving tonight. On the Pacific coast, you can see there's just not a lot of wind overall. Not a lot of headwind, not a lot of tailwind. Pretty good time for birds to migrate, which is why we see a little bit of movement coming up out of that desert southwest, especially after that system passed last night. So birds going to take advantage of that. If they go out over that open water here, though, they're going to be fighting headwinds, which is going to create some problems. And then why nothing in the east? It's not like we have a lot of movement, but we do have a little bit of headwinds out here. So why so quiet? A large part of that might be because not a lot of birds came in last night because they're fighting all of this awful headwind. If they're trying to cross out of the Yucatan over the Gulf, they're going to be fighting headwinds. So what's happening? They're hitting those headwinds. Those birds staying down in the Yucatan, not trying to cross in those conditions. Very smart of those birds. No point in making life worse than it already is trying to make that 10-plus hour flight. So let's go see what's happening the rest of the night. So that is tonight. Let's look at what's happening tomorrow night. We're hopefully pulling this map up. We might have a little delay here. Get our map pulled up. So let's go back to the rest of the forecast for the next 3 days. This is tonight. We've already seen this. Let's jump ahead to tomorrow night. What's happening tomorrow night? It looks very similar to what's happening tonight, except for about 30 more million birds on the move. So you can see the big area of movement going to be right in this region here. Still not a lot happening from the Rockies up into the northern Great Plains and that Pacific coast. Still getting some great movement up that way, though there are some systems coming across that might slow some birds down in those areas. Still some decent movement, but 80 million birds might sound like a lot. But if you've never done this before, just wait until we get into the heated part of migration where we're talking 250 million birds in a single night moving across the U.S. It is amazing. But that's tomorrow night. Let's look 2 nights out. Now, every day we do these are going to look a little different because as we get closer to those dates, we have a better idea of what to forecast. Same for the weather. We know better what's happening with the weather, and that also allows us to know better what's going to happen with the birds. What are they going to be doing? So in 2 nights, you can see we're almost to 90 million birds moving, and the majority of it still right in that region there, and then up the Pacific coastline. Still, for those of us who dwell in the central and northern Rockies, not a lot of movement over the next couple of nights. Some birds are coming in, but not in those big waves that we're seeing everywhere else. That is your Migration Minute, and I am Richard Cissel. See you tomorrow.